that is listening in over on Spreaker Live and on YouTube Live tonight. For all you listening out there on SoundCloud, So-and-So, Blog Talk, you name it. iTunes, TuneIn, iHeart, wherever you're listening to the show from tonight, we very much appreciate you listening in here to the Cold Hard Truth on Sports every Tuesday from 8:30 to 11:30 here. So Kevin, we're coming back from break. Again, number 347-237-5539 is the number to call in. If you want to get at the show live, message us. The handle for the show is at the CHT on Sports. You can hit me up directly at Matt Long Sports, and you hit Kevin up directly at Kevin Crest. Crest with a K, of course, the best way to spell it. So we just got done with the interview with, a very well-renowned guy in Leigh Steinberg. I mean, didn't even bring it up in the intro. This is one of the guys that was one of the major influences in the movie Jerry McGuire. I mean, what gets... Yeah. Absolutely, and that's we could have had him just on for the whole 3 hours tonight. I mean, he's one of those guys. It's he has insight into pretty much anything you want to ask him. He has understanding, not just understanding, knowledge, experience into it. Like we mentioned in the interview, being one of the people who are in the movement to keep the Giants the Giants in San Francisco in the Bay Area and not come to Tampa. But Tampa people, now you know who to be mad at. No, I'm just kidding. Keep the Raiders there, which Crazy Al Davis, now his son Mark is moving to Las Vegas, which I think Las Vegas is a good fit for the Raiders. We didn't really get much into that. Having two teams in LA is always, that's a positive, but he did speak on, St. Louis and San Diego and the fan bases that are, losing franchises in their cities because the owners weren't getting compensation in the form of a stadium. So, in some respects, San Diego, the stadium was built in the 70s. They've put money into that stadium, and there's been a complete refusal to really do anything about funding for a stadium. The Rays. Look at the Rays. Look at the Braves. Look at the Falcons. A lot of these teams, even Kroenke. Everybody's talking about how much he's putting into building it. Let's not forget that Los Angeles that's a developing area, and there are grants and stuff that are going to revitalizing grants, city revitalizing grants that he's going to benefit from there too. So these owners get some of that stuff too, and some of the cities. It's a shame when some of the cities aren't willing to do something about it and put money into it. Tampa's going to look here pretty soon with USF wanting to build their own stadium over by campus. I got a couple of sources telling me where they're probably going to put that. The Buccaneers, they just updated all those screens and systems like that, and they've been doing a good job. They've hosted 2 Super Bowls in that stadium, and they want to host more, but the NFL kind of likes new stuff. So that's kind of one of those things. London has been trying to be in the mix for the last few years, trying to get a Super Bowl in London. So it's not just, Tampa isn't just, and cities like San Diego they hosted a Super Bowl years back, but it's not just about cities here in warmer climates in the U.S. Minnesota, New York / New Jersey, as here in a 5-year span, we'll each have a Super Bowl in their city. So it's a time that's kind of changing in the world of the NFL and pro sports. It used to be 20 years. Now you're kind of saying, hey, let's look at a new stadium. And now it's more of like about every decade. They're thinking about major upgrades or new stadiums. So it's interesting. He seems to be a really good down-to-earth guy, looking out for not just his clients, but for the communities that they're involved in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. No. Well, open air stadiums, Ray J hosts lots of concerts. I mean, Beyonce, her kickoff to her whole Lemonade tour, she kicked off that whole thing here in Tampa at Ray J. I mean, they get tons of concerts here. Monster Jam, I mean, you can get those events there, and the city gets some money from it. Mostly, I think, from the parking and part of the concessions, but the teams get a lot of that too. So, and again, a lot more of it's, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I swear Monster Jam, like especially here in Tampa, I swear they just live here for like 2 months after the football season. It's probably not the case, but it seems that way. Monster Jam seems to be here every weekend. They do have tons of concerts. I mean, I don't live far from Raymond James Stadium, so I take MLK a lot, going by $1, and $1 is just literally like a block and a half away from the stadium. So, going through there, they do a lot there. They share that stadium with USF right now, so you got what is that? At least 6 home games there for USF. They have the Outback Bowl there. They had the national championship game there. I want to say they had one other game like that there as well. This past year. But I mean, Ray J is one of those exceptions. Again, I don't know what they would do in San Diego. But once you build those new stadiums and stuff like that, you start bidding on other things. Before maybe you weren't getting the Under Armour All-American game, which the stadium in Orlando is getting that. The one that UCF plays at the Wild World of Sports Complex. I forget what it's called. Their stadium there. So it's again, that's not even a pro city. It's just a tourist city. There's the city is built with the capacity to take in tourists and events like that. But, not all cities can do that. So, again, a lot of the infrastructure around it is what comes into it. So, a lot of the money that they put into building these stadiums, the public, for the most part, doesn't see the return on it. And again, just like anything, just like Black Friday, I know I talked to, a lot of business managers, some CEOs of companies, and there's a lot of companies that are, even like Walmart, for example, are thinking about pulling out of Black Friday altogether, just because they get so much more business on Cyber Monday, and they run other deals and stuff throughout the year anyways. Their clearance section gets them, the same amount of revenue as Black Friday does. So that's why you don't see as many deals and stuff there. People aren't coming out. I mean, when you're starting the stuff at 10 o'clock or 6 p.m. on Thanksgiving, it really takes the whole purpose of Friday out of it, So a lot of businesses are kind of pulling out of that too. So what's the usefulness of it? So the stadium, yeah, if you have a pro franchise, you have these massive stadiums built there. I mean, once you leave a stadium, it's kind of like, what do you do with where it was? Now you got to play, hundreds of thousands of dollars to demolish and remove that, or turn it into something else, or find a different purpose for it. I mean, for God's sakes, we see time and time again issues with countries that host the Olympics. They have to build these massive stadiums, and they have to be state of the art. They have all these specs that they have to meet. I mean, for God's sakes, Brazil has like soccer stadiums in the middle of the Amazon that got used for the Olympics. End up 3 years later, end up getting used again for the World Cup, but now they're not going to get used for anything. Stuff like that. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's a hard sell. Baseball, they usually play any one day. You've got all the concessions, pointers, parking, all the stuff around the stadium, and all that sort of stuff. But football is rough. I don't get that.
Yeah, I'm pulling up here, and again, Ray J's kind of unique. I'm going to just see what their schedule was for the year. Yeah, it's a warm weather. I mean, see, that's why I don't understand why Minnesota decided to go with an open-air stadium in Minnesota. You go with another dome, with a retractable dome or something like that, I just don't get why, some places, again, it's more cost-effective. I think that's probably why. The only way they could financially swing it was doing that. I mean, Tampa's $300,000 short, something like that, in public coffers. Public coffer money to be able to build a stadium. And then on top of that, they run into problems with developers being able to, develop the land there. People are buying them up. The developers want to build their, luxury apartments or condos or whatever, rack up the money off that instead of building a stadium. So, it's kind of a tough situation there. But I want to kind of change gears a little bit to get back on one of the topics that he talked about. I know you head out here at 10:30, and I take the show for the last hour, last ride. I wanted to kind of get into touch on one of the topics. I do kid about you being such a big Mac fan, and I covered the 92nd East-West Shrine game this past weekend. I got double credentialed, by the way. I got a media credential and then an official NFL credential for photography to be on the sideline. So I was on the sideline for 3 of the 4 quarters. I went up to the... I was going to. I'm telling you, man. I mean, I walked around there and I was like, if somebody threw an errant ball my way, I was going to make the ESPN top 10 with some ridiculous one-handed catch or something. Oh, look at the media guy. Yeah. Well, the thing is, I'm 6'2" and a half, almost 6'3", and I weigh like 235. So, they're about my size. Most of the defensive linemen, offensive linemen were like my size or bigger. Offensive and defensive linemen mostly. They're like 6'6", 6'4", these beasts. Hey, a lot of Razorbacks there this past weekend. A lot of Razorbacks this weekend. I wanted to talk to you about a couple of those guys I had my eye on this weekend, particularly Dietrich Wise. He looked really good in practice all week and in the game. 6'6", 270 defensive end. He looked like he had some quickness and a strong guy. I don't know. I know you watched a lot of the games this year. What do you think about him at the next level? Yeah.
Arkansas has talent and that's something that everyone struggles with. That's what makes it Arkansas and struggles. That's what the Jason is going to do. But, some of these teams don't go out and get tons of players. They're going to struggle with Alabama has. They probably could have had a top 25 in their second place. They probably got some quarterback on the bench. Some guy now playing, defensive back. There's a 5-star quarterback in high school that puts Alabama in place. I don't sometimes get it with football fans that get kind of. I'm a big extreme line guy. I like watching games.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I was expecting the office to go high,
They were about ready to play us off stage, huh? They're good people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You're not a big underwear Olympics guy? That's, you know. Yeah. By the way, if you want to go over to the website, yeah, Kevin, you have a blog on that a couple weeks ago. It's over there. I think it's still one of the featured articles. No, I've actually had a ton of articles up since then, but yeah. Okay.
man, they got fire, performing. After that, I can win. You realize I can win. Don't win. If I can stop, God is going to the rest of the thing will stop. It's going to be incredibly bad. That's going to be bad. And so, this was the case because this was turning into December for time that we were last year.
That's so crazy.
I know you tell me on the slide, small by something one television solution, but one something into it. I just feel that I'd like to Sunday, frankly, this is the time to get a right person. I'm going to put it alone. So just kind of what do I watch? The NBA is watching they're playing way too many. The competitive game. I believe the Cavaliers just finished 5 games in 8 days. That's right. I like that as Silver as a candidate. That's something that has to happen. Product. There's opportunity. So we'll see. I'm not going to focus on the combine now.
The thing is, like with these games and stuff like that, I like looking at the prospects from it. I enjoy college football and looking at who could be a real prospect. But it's when you get to this kind of year, it adds a different challenge to it. Because when you see people, in the combine doing drills and stuff like that, it's tough to really get a lot from it. Most of you are looking at hips and feet and hands, where your eyes, how your body movement is, where your fundamentals at. It doesn't really tell you what is this person going to be? So it's tough. That's why, a lot of the stuff they do at the combine, aren't truly football stuff. They're not football drills. So it's tough to really tell what you're going to get out of it. But those drills change so much from team to team and scheme to scheme. So they've kind of tried to find some stuff that is, kind of generic in a sense. For guys to be involved in at these training sessions and stuff like that, to kind of give an idea of what they could look like, really, and not until they get to rookie mini camps, OTAs, stuff like that. You're not going to really be able to tell what you're going to get kind of out of these guys until you put them in those kind of situations. So, I enjoy observing this. I like the draft. I do a mock, usually just of the first round. So, like last year, I actually did a mock for the Buccaneers. I was pretty accurate on that, on my draft prediction for the Bucs. So, it's I'm not really big into doing a ton of mock drafts. They change so much. And that's the crazy thing because, you see like these all-star games, of course, these are guys, you're not really seeing many first rounders in here. And the guys that do are movers that moved up. And it just goes to show that scouts and media and people that, don't anywhere near watch as much college football as you do. Or, maybe even the average fan. Because Yeah. Yeah. And well, here's the thing: is like this, like this time of year. Assistants, like some people take vacations and stuff. Some people, take a little time off, but not much. What they largely use, like combines, pro days, these all-star games, it's their joint meeting places where these people, scouts and from the NFL, the CFL, arena football, IFL, I saw scouts from all over. Like tons of CFL guys, like Winnipeg. Winnipeg has the same colors and logo as University of Washington, and I was like, "Is that someone from Washington?" And then I saw Winnipeg on the arm of the sleeve. It says Winnipeg. I'm like, "Oh yeah, CFL. Okay, cool." So it's there's guys from everywhere. It was really sublime to be around that much. Around that many people that are so involved in evaluating and building what the product is on. I like it because I'm interested in the process. I like to learn about the process and see the process happen. I'm the goof. I like touring wineries and breweries and when I was a kid growing up. My dad worked at Kawasaki, so every year they would do an open house. So you go through and see robots doing Rubik's cubes. They'd have demonstrations of the newest Ninja motorcycle. All kinds of stuff. Actually, I ended up working at Kawasaki coming out of high school, but I've always been interested, intrigued by the processes of things. So when he starts talking about CTE. I could have sat here and talked to him for 3 hours easy just based on, CTE and research and stuff that I've done on it. Talk about the neuropsychological effects of it, how it affects the frontal lobe of the brain, why we're seeing so much depression. Asking, is there a regression in some sort of in the frontal lobe that's causing these sort of things. So, there's tons of questions that I could literally talk to in 3 hours on one topic alone. We don't have the time to talk for 3 hours just about CTE. Maybe we will at some point, and we'll do. Yeah. Him. Yeah. Yeah, and it's a funny thing. I've talked to him tonight. He kind of got on that, and he would have went further. David Humm. He was a backup quarterback for the Raiders for a couple of their Super Bowls, and he's a broadcaster for them now. He's actually part of one of the lawsuits against the NFL on revolving around CTE. Chidi Ahanatu, I've talked to about it. He's, that's the one thing I like about Chidi. You get him going on something, he's not gonna. That's a lot of guys like that. That'll give you an answer. Their opinion, something like that. It's not. It's from an experience point of view, and that's so much different from a research point of view, or sitting back as observers like we've been, and most people are. To hear those sort of things, to have a passion or a story coming from experience gives a different depth to what the situation truly is. So, having guys like that to really talk about, we could have went on all night to talk about that. But right now, let's do you want to cap off here on kind of the college football talk before we go into the break, or you want to go to the break early? Okay. You talked a little bit earlier, and it's been, everybody's going one polar way or one other polar way about Deshaun Watson skipping the Reese's Senior Bowl, which I don't have an issue with. It's an all-star game. Hey, 36 games. There's 36 games of college football elite play from him. Oh, he's thrown 30-some interceptions. Who cares? Look back at these. Like for example, so you're telling me that you, as a professional, a sports GM and scout, feel more comfortable after seeing what in college they play 16 games, 18 games if they get far in the tournament. So you can make 18-game decision on a guy that may play against 2 or 3 guys that are actual NFL caliber guys or NBA caliber guys, but you can't make a decision on 36 football games of Deshaun Watson, where some of the biggest moments are in crunch time against Alabama, Ohio State, Florida State. You can't figure it out, Exactly. He plays against enough NFL quality defense that it's nuts. And the ones he's had the most success on has been the best ones. He has a problem with his accuracy. Some of his mechanics are a little off. He's kind of stiff sometimes, but those are developmental issues. He's in college. He shouldn't be spit shine and ready to hit the showroom floor. He's in college. No, not at all. No. That too. Here's a perfect example. A guy has been kind of moving up on some draft boards. He is an offensive lineman out of North Dakota State, 6'4", 322, guard. His name's Zach Johnson. He was there for Wentz. He was there for this Stick, and this latest kid. He had a really good practice for 4 days, and then right at the end of the practice on Thursday, the last practice on Thursday, a guy kind of rolled up on his knee. He hyperextended his left knee. He ended up going in for an MRI. I think the MRI came back negative. He didn't play in the game. He was on the sidelines. He had a brace on, which he should have been wearing to begin with, but he was walking around. There wasn't anything special really going on there. I talked to him a little bit. I didn't get any sort of definitive information. I don't think they know exactly what the protocol will be moving forward just yet. So I'll get some more information on that. But that's a great example there. Avery Genesee, he's another guy. He didn't practice the last day. of practice for the Shrine game. Neither did Avery Moss, the kid out of Youngstown State that was a standout this past season. You know, I talked to him for a bit. Didn't really get clarification why, you know, he sat out the last day of practice. But a lot of the scouts are gone by Wednesday. To be frank with you, they'll come Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday. A few last minute ones roll in, and then they're all gone. They leave Wednesday night or Thursday morning to head over to Mobile to start with the Senior Bowl to get in there. They don't stay for the game. So, you know, I talked to a few scouts from the Bills that actually did. The Bills stayed for the game. I talked to one of the scouts there, you know, what they've kind of been looking at. And so, that's, you know, I think that's probably the most interesting part about it, you know, the process. I enjoy the process. But Deshaun Watson sitting out the game, I don't think that says much. It doesn't do anything to hurt him for me. I think he is the best quarterback, all-around quarterback prospect in this draft if you're looking to bring in somebody that can win for your franchise. I don't like the comparisons to Cam Newton. I don't like the comparisons to Vince Young. I think he's closer to being a Jameis Winston than he is to either of those players. So, again, I hear Cam Newton and Vince Young, and I don't think he matches either of those guys. I think he's closer to Jameis Winston. He's just more athletic. The guys see an athletic guy that's big, and now it's all of a sudden it's this guy. He's a much better thrower than either of those guys were or are, you know? No. See, that's the issue, and I notice it. A lot of that comes with his release. It's a release thing where the release is coming off early. It's coming off high, and some of that has to do with his footwork and his body mechanics. But they'll work on that here over the next month before the combine starts. So we'll see some of that change. He has a month. 2 months really before we're, pro days and all that stuff is said and done. And then, mini camps are what? May, June, something like that. It's a ways away, this stuff. It's a ways away. So, and the talk that he doesn't want to play for the Browns, the Browns' issue is their front office. That's their problem. It's not the players that they get always. They don't know how to develop or use the talents that they have. That's the issue. I'm telling you, you give those same guys to Belichick and you're going to see something different out of them. It's how you use them. It's really how you use them. If you don't have people in place that can manage talent well or scout talent well or be able to put talent, most importantly, in situations that are going to make them successful and you to reap the benefit of that success, then it's just pointless, Some of it's scheme, and that comes down to picking the players. That's a front office thing. Building that roster, that's a front office thing. For a large part, the head coach, the head coach, the assistant coaches, coordinators, the players, they just got what's given to them, and then they got to make something happen with that. So it's about finding people that can really make that happen, and some guys can, and some guys just, that's one of the things that's kind of been really successful there in Atlanta. Their offense or their general manager, right after they hired Dan Quinn, they're bringing in guys that are ex-general managers, and a lot of guys would be like, I don't want him stepping, I don't want him pissing on near my doghouse. Maybe he takes over. Maybe he sleeps in my bed tonight. And he put his pride aside, and they've worked as a collective, as a team, and it's worked well for Atlanta. So I don't know. Maybe some teams aren't willing to do that. So it's always interesting. We want to, it's fun to have that one that you pick on. They suck. They're always going to be bad. But, it's, what is it? I think there's only what? Isn't there the Jags, the Panthers, three expansion teams, and one other team that has never won a Super Bowl? Is there 4 teams? Yeah. There's those 3, and then the 3 expansions. So there's 6 teams, I think, that haven't won a Super Bowl, and they're. It's been 20 years since the Chargers have been. It's been 21 years. I think they went in 96. Yeah.
It's been a long time.
It isn't. And I think the NFL has done a good job of creating some sort of parity in their sport, to where you don't have one team that's winning it everywhere, or 2 teams. See, that's a problem with the NBA. They have like 3 teams. That's it. And those are 3 teams, or you're just going to be one of those 3 teams that win it. And the whole season is just a mundane road to seeing the Cavs play one of the other 2 teams. Yeah. Well, if LeBron James breaks his leg, the Cavs might not get out of the East. Frankly, I don't think they may not get out of the East without LeBron James. He adds so much to the team. It's. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, hey, I'm with you. That's why regular NBA, unless you're a fan of one of the teams, although Christian State it had a playoff kind of atmosphere, but other than that, I'm not watching. I'm watching. So Saturday.
Stir up again. You. Yeah. It didn't look good at first for Virginia Tech, and then that bowl game was just like it was like they couldn't get anything to happen in the first half, and then it's just like it flipped a complete 180, and everything was just working.
By the way, next question on November 3rd, the actual game-by-game schedule in Blacksburg next year. And that's going to be one of those big games, right? Because this is the winner of that game. That's a big game. That's out of the so, whoever wins that game will get a run up in their own division.
Yeah. Huh.
Conference forever, but this because of the few. I just think we were coming out of the FCC. They had been down, but then they had kick their butt is not a good term for that. It was a much easier because they won the last second.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think right behind Alabama.
I wanted to kind of talk to you about. We haven't actually talked about Urban Meyer's kind of falling apart. I think for a large part of the audience and everybody, it was pretty forgotten because of the epic game that was coming ahead with the rematch and the storyline there, and probably the best national championship game that most of us probably have ever seen. Just Urban Meyer's kind of the team just fell apart, 31-0. We haven't had a chance to reflect on that at all. I mean, and now there's. See if I have it here. I was going to publish it, and I might still put it up too. So, I probably will. This year, and I might do an article on this too. I don't know if maybe you write something on it, but the underclassmen. It's the second. Again, they've only been doing underclassmen since 98, something like that. Not even that. 2000. It hasn't been very long. It's been maybe 8 or 10 years. They've been doing underclassmen, or as the NFL calls, there are special exceptions for the draft. And their last year, it was an all-time high of 96. This year was 95. A lot of those players were from Clemson and Ohio State. So it's kind of, it leaves me wondering if Clemson beat Ohio State that bad, and then Ohio State, again, last year they lost a lot of guys. This year they're going to lose a lot of guys. Clemson is losing a ton of guys, either seniors or underclassmen. And I think they have, out of the final 8 to be eligible, I think they had 3 of the final 8 were from Clemson, but it's kind of, it's alarming in some sense that you have so many guys that are coming out. Yeah, here it is, 95. Let me pull it up. So here's the thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Well, the big reason is because, okay, so I sent the PDF file over to you, by the way, so you could have it. For example, the highest number, it was in 2014, 98 underclassmen. 2015 dipped back down to the normal, kind of more of a normal range of 74. 96 last year, 95 this year. That's the third highest in history to come out. But the thing is you have, again, 200 guys? Was it, how many guys get drafted? Like 250 guys get drafted? Okay, so 128. But how many of these guys are actually NFL talent? I mean, I saw a lot of guys this weekend that, I'm like, yeah, they're not making the NFL. And this is an all-star game. And again, it's really the NCAA that's making the largest lump sum ever out of everything else. I don't know. Again, the NCAA and FIFA, and I think that's kind of where we were. And I think it was a couple of years ago we actually kind of compared the two. The NCAA and FIFA. They are this giant black hole for money. And the funny thing is, I kind of go a couple different ways. I understand that they're making a lot of money.
It's a different kind of animal. We're not letting you corrupt.
Yeah, from the financial end, not from the corruption end. If we were going to compare things like that from the corruption end, we would choose like Venezuela's government, for example. The IOC. If you want to stay with the kind of a more of a sports theme. I just wanted to take a shot at the Venezuelan government. That's all I wanted to do. It was an opening I saw. I took it. Just anytime I can. Yeah. By the way, that kid, good footwork, he did a good job on his checkdowns and stuff like that this weekend. Like, I'm not kidding you. He looked decent. I think the kid, Alec Torgerson, is that how you pronounce it? Yeah, Alex Torgerson from Pennsylvania. I think he's probably the best prospect between Cooper Rush and Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins is from southern Mississippi. I'm sure you watched a lot of those games this year, too. It's funny, because I saw... Yeah? Oh, that's good. Well, then I won't say anything bad about them now. I was going to, but I won't now. Our listening audience. No, I'm very appreciative of them. Listening in every week, watching every week. You know, I was saying that Todd Monken, he is the wide receivers coach and offensive coordinator for the Bucs, and he was the head coach of Southern Mississippi, of Southern Miss, the year before. He was the coach that actually bought his outgoing seniors' suits. He's that guy. He's that guy. You know, it's not bad to be that guy. But he was talking to him for a little while there, watching him pretty closely. So I was interested to see. I was going to ask him how many teams talk to Cooper. You know, it's always interesting. And the other thing, the funny thing is, like, I always closed my interviews with the prospects with kind of a business question, because my philosophy is when you go in to start a business, you start it with your exit. How, as the owner, are you leaving the business? Because you don't want to be, because if it's a business and you have to be there, it's not a business, it's just a job. You know, how can you not be there and the business still works? You know, so, and that's what you hear from a lot of successful businesses. They have systems they built, and they started with their exit from the business. So my question was, for everyone I interviewed, was, how, kind of, set it up that way. I know you're just now looking at getting into the NFL, but how do you see your exit from the NFL? What do you do after? How do you see those two things happening? So that was kind of some of the interesting stuff I got from guys. One of my favorite questions. I mean, you can talk about X's and O's and how do you think you're developing? Where's your strengths? What's your weaknesses? It's good to ask a guy what's his weaknesses, but it's Avery Moss, for example, his degree at Nebraska was in psychology, but he transferred to Youngstown State because he had an off-the-field issue. If you want more information on that, you can go over to their website, go over to the CHTonsports.com, just search Avery Moss. I have an article up from 2014 about that. He was kicked off the team, suspended and banned from campus for a whole year. He ended up transferring over to Youngstown State and went into and got a business degree. So he is looking more at entrepreneurship, investing, stuff like that. So to see somebody where they've kind of evolved to, after a rough patch, and came out more so on top than not. I wished for his sake, I wish he would have showed up more in the the game that he played in, because he didn't practice on Thursday. Just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Monday, I didn't see him doing anything overly impressive. I didn't see the Monday. Tuesday was the one I was over there for the longest, where I watched more. I didn't see him doing anything overly impressive on Tuesday. I didn't see him Monday, and I didn't see him Wednesday. So I guess I can go back and look at the all-22 of that because I have access to it. But again, it's kind of those things. What are you going to do on when the cameras turn on? What are you doing then? That's where a lot of people we're looking for people to show up. Guys like Brian Cox, who I also interviewed, son of former outside linebacker Brian Cox, defensive lineman Brian Cox. He's Brian Cox Jr. Talked to him. He went to the University of Florida. He, by the way, the Bills kind of liked the Bills scout I talked to was kind of happy to see him play well in the game on Saturday. So they have an eye on him. But it's like trying to think. kid from Utah, running back, Joe. Where did I put it? I'm bad with name. Joe Williams. It's kind of, he kind of went along the same lines as kind of like, have my own business sort of thing. But I was kind of expecting a bit more out of him because he seems like he's at this different level of maturity, but there is a side to him kind of like, I can only explain it like, again, this doesn't put him in the best light, but like Ricky Williams. It's just kind of those things that, maybe it's a mature choice, but it just, I don't get it. And then what you do after doesn't make, like, he retired in September. He retired from football. He retired, and he said it was his body. I've been playing this game since I was 6. He comes back and plays like the last 5 games of the year and balls out. So now what do you do as an NFL scout? Is this like a Ricky Williams? Is this a guy that you're going to have to struggle with him having a passion for the game? Is his head in it? Like, he just retired in September. By the way, we're about 60 seconds from going into overtime. If you want to listen in on overtime on Blog Talk, you have to call in 347-237-5539. If you're watching on YouTube Live or you're listening on Spreaker, either online or on the Spreaker radio app that you can download for free, you can listen to the show every week there too. Just keep listening. But Blog Talk, you guys have to call in. So, but absolutely. Absolutely. Appreciate it. Kevin Crest. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I appreciate it. It's Kevin Crest, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, KevCrestSports.blogspot.com is his blog, if you want to go read it there before we syndicate it over on the Cold Hard Truth on Sports. Also, he's the author of the P.K. Frazier novels. If you guys haven't, he's talking about Leigh Steinberg book, and I haven't read it yet, but I will. Go out and get the P.K. Frazier novels. It doesn't matter if you're a sports fan. If you're listening to the show, you probably are a sports fan or one of my family members, one of the two. Go out and get the books, I tweeted out this weekend, if you want to start with the first book, 55% off. You can get the Kindle version for like $4. You can get all the Kindle version, all 3 books, and you're like out $12. 12. Something like that. Buy the paper version of them. I think you're out like 30 something, 30 or $40. Most books cost 30 or $40. The series is amazing. And it's the story. How many people out there that used to watch the show Coach with Coach Hayden Fox? A lot of people. I think it was on the air for 7 or 8 seasons. I watched that growing up. It was a great show. But was everybody that was watching, were they a sports fan? No, probably not. Did they get football? You didn't need to. See, that's the thing about these the P.K. Frazier novels. Yeah, it's like a historic novel, so the events in it that are sports-related actually did happen. Kevin does his research. He watches a lot of games. Probably did it all from memory. But most of us haven't watched these games. One of the games, the Nebraska game, where Nebraska upset Kansas in Lincoln, I was at the game. So it was sublime to be, I was like, I was there. But the books are amazing. I don't just say it because, he's a contributor and a friend and, and I know him because I really do enjoy the books. And I bought the 3rd one. So that's the thing, go over to Amazon, buy the book on Amazon, get the Kindle version. I think you can go over to Barnes & Noble if you're a Nook person and download the Nook. If you're old-fashioned like paper, go to Amazon. You can get the paper version on Amazon. So go out and get them. The PK, just type in Kevin Crest with a K, or PK Frazier. Frazier, just same way of spelling as Tommy Frazier. And you'll find it. So great books. Definitely got to download those. So I'm gonna go to a quick break. We skipped it there at the top of the hour, so I'm gonna go to a quick 2-minute break here. A little less than 2 minutes, and we'll be back on the other side of this break. It's less than that. What were we saying? Okay, it's just the top of the hour spot. Okay, we're fine. No, don't run that. Run. Okay, I got it. All right, we're going to go to a quick, 1 minute break. So hang in there. For those of you on Spreaker, Facebook Live, or YouTube Live, hang in there for a second. It's just a quick break. And we'll be right back after this. I'm going to get more into the division championships on the other side of the break, and I want to talk a little bit more about some of the prospects and stuff, and the people I talked to while I was at the Shrine game. You're listening to the Cold Hard Truth on Sports here on the Go Long Media channel on blogtalkradio.com, YouTube Live, Spreaker, SoundCloud. Just about anywhere you can listen to it, we're there. We'll be back right after this. All right, for those of you on Spreaker, Facebook Live, head over to richardreeslive.com. Hilarious comedian. You can download his Smokes, Jokes, and Laser Beams album over there. He has a bunch of new stuff too, so definitely go check it out over there. richardreeslive.com. richardreeslive.com. All right, for everybody, don't do that. Welcome back, everybody, here to the Cold Hard Truth on Sports, here on the Go Long Media channel on Blog Talk Radio. You can find the full versions of the show. Some of you that tuned in on Blog Talk did hear the first half hour of the show, where we had CEO, owner, founder of Steinberg Sports and Entertainment, Leigh Steinberg. The guy's been in the sports business for a long time. Through ups, through downs, through lots of, crazy points, in sports history. And not just a lot of it's football related, but basketball, pretty much across the board. Guys are coaches. And the thing is, the agents, a lot of guys you'll see out there will be agents like NFLPA guys. I'm an NFL agent. Lauren Pincus. He was on the show a few weeks ago. He just does Major League Baseball. BB Abbott's been on before. He just does Major League Baseball. Gary Glick, he's been on a few times. He just does the NFL, So it's, some guys do a bit more than other guys, or in different realms than other guys. So, but it was great having him on. Leigh, just a plethora of knowledge. The guy's had like 60-some. He's overseen. He's been agent for 61 first-round NFL draft picks, including 8 first picks overall. 8 overall. 8 players to go into Pro Football Hall of Fame. I mean, it's crazy. Numerous first-round lottery NBA picks, baseball all-stars. He even managed Oscar De La Hoya and Lennox Lewis. He helped keep the Giants in 92 in San Francisco. Sorry, Tampa. That's why you didn't get him. He helped save the Rams in 94 to keep them and the A's, to keep them in their towns. The Rams end up going to St. Louis. Again, he highlighted if St. Louis would have honored, if they would have honored an expansion team, that team wouldn't have moved there. So it's interesting. He's authored several books too. So the guy, and he was the guy around the creative concept of Jerry McGuire. Any Given Sunday, For the Love of the Game. So it's, those are big. Those are big milestones. I mean, when people really look at you and look up to you and seek your advice like that, it's important. It's great to have him on earlier in the show. So that's another one to the Wall of Fame for the Cold Hard Truth on Sports. So, all right. So I want to get into these divisional championship games. A lot of talk this past weekend, and again, I'm not a greatest of all time guy. I'm not big on saying, oh, he did this, he's the greatest. They're saying Aaron Rodgers, if he would have won this game or won the Super Bowl, more so this year, he'd go down as the greatest in all time. And I get he's a stats monster. He's probably all around skills wise the best in the NFL. He struggled with some ego issues. It's caused conflicts with him and his coach and his teammates and those kind of relationships. People are going to have those. You're going to have egos in sports. You're going to have guys that are, especially at the quarterback position. You have to be confident in what you do. Just this past weekend, Sunday, Jordana passed away. The kid from Dominican Republic was up. He was a rising star for the Royals, and he was like that too, fiery guy, fiery guy, and to see. Sometimes those talents are tough. Talent like that is tough to manage. And Jordana Ventura was no exception. Fiery guy. He's full of confidence. That's where he got the, from. He threw 100-mile-an-hour gas when he was, he was like 18. We tried out for the Royals and their academy in the Dominican Republic, So, again, tight, in on the body, heat, you got to have that sort of confidence. You got to have that swagger when you're in those sort of positions, It's that confidence thing. But there's a borderline between being confident and just being this so super egotistical. What do you do with it? What do you do with it? Are you more humble or what? So it's always interesting to see exactly how guys work. But it's not surprising to have a quarterback have an ego. It's not surprising at all. A top-level person. Doesn't matter if it's a quarterback and anything, I mean, I've managed sales and marketing. I mean, these guys, these sales guys, some of them just like, wow, really? Really? It's like, you think people owe you. Like, you should worship the ground you're on. Yeah, you do well. But to think that if you were gone, the company would just fold. Somebody else almost always is there. Maybe they won't do as good. Maybe you have to hire 2 more people to get the same production. And that's the thing is, like, some people get in trouble. They try to leverage that at the wrong time, the wrong way. So, he did. He struggled with those sort of things earlier in the year, and that hurt some of the relationships on the team. You win 8 straight games, people kind of start to feel a little bit better about it. But Atlanta had a good enough defense and an offense that has worked really well. And that made a big difference because, they were able to do things against the Packers and stop things from happening against the Packers that the Cowboys couldn't, because the Cowboys struggled as far as defense goes. So, again, a lot of people were praising, I don't know why so much, they were really praising the Dallas Cowboys for having some sort of phenomenal defense. And that's what I'm just saying, their defense worked. It worked kind of when it needed to. And it was kind of that almost a bend but don't break sort of thing. So they had been getting by this year, without having pass rushers that they could lean on each week, without having corners they can really lean on each week. Really having Leigh being the main guy there on defense and just running all over the field and trying to do whatever he could to make things happen. So it's not surprising that Green Bay beat them or Aaron Rodgers won. The Falcons end up winning 44-21, but those 21, they went into halftime losing 24-0, and then came out, and then the defense still couldn't stop Atlanta. I mean, he tried to mount some sort of a comeback, but it was 30-something. 30-something to 15. It's really tough to do much with that. I mean, how many Hail Marys are you gonna throw? So to see such a lopsided victory by Atlanta again, they do well at home, they do well in their dome. Again, on the road or in outside weather, they don't do as well. It's lower points. The Patriots seem to kind of be a little bit more even keel. I don't know. The Steelers just made too many mistakes on defense in that game. Blown coverages, sucking in the young defensive back and safeties. A lot of fakes. A lot of utilizing talent that Chris Hogan, having 2 touchdowns, 180 yards on 9 receptions, isn't something that anybody was predicting going to the game. I mean, he has 680 yards on the season, 180 which were in that game. Roughly a third of his entire production on yardage was in that game. He had 2 touchdowns. He has 4 for the season. Half of his total touchdowns for the season were in that game. a quarter of his receptions came in that game. He got more production in one game than he's had all season. Okay? So let's sit here and think that there was some major game plan that anybody saw coming. I mean, he had a good game against Baltimore, 129 yards. He had a good game against the Browns, 114. 91 against Buffalo, and those are his good games. Wow, what quality talent. Houston, 95 yards. I'm just saying, it's not like he's having these huge games against awesome teams. Oh, by the way, back on September 22nd, he was in that game. He only had 3 yards. I mean, he pretty much... I mean, his targets haven't changed much all season. He's just been catching more balls. You know, he's not a workhorse. His targets haven't changed much. That game was the highest. He had 12 targets, brought in 9. That was a career game for him. Before that game, the most targets he's ever had this season was 7. 7 targets. He caught 5 for 129 yards and a touchdown. Again, one of those being a 79-yard catch and run. Again, that is his career high, 79 yards, the longest reception he's had of his whole career. 3/4 of his entire production that day, or 2/3 of his entire production that day, is on one play. So let's not pretend like this is what their plan was. You know, let's heavily target Chris Hogan. It wasn't. So let's not pretend that it was. Brady just seems to have their number on defense. He seems to do better against the Steelers and faking them out a lot. You know, they bite on a lot of the run plays, and it's crazy because, you know, I mean, 57 yards rushing. That's all the Patriots put up. 57 yards rushing. Brady threw for 374 yards and 3 touchdowns. You know. But it wasn't, again, the way they play the game, you know. I mean, they held it for 31 minutes, and they do a lot of getting first downs. You know, a lot of first downs. Converting on third. That's how the Patriots stay consistent, you know. They only, they only had, 4 total more plays than the Patriots? And they won 36-17. But the big thing is when you have an interception and a lost fumble, those 2 turnovers, again, if you take away 14 points from that, I mean, where are we at? So it's a much different ball game at that point. Maybe the momentum swing doesn't change. So is it surprising we're seeing the Patriots win in Foxborough and they're going to the Super Bowl? No, it's not surprising. I don't think, you know, tons of money was made on the Patriots making it to the Super Bowl. It's their record 7th for Brady and Belichick. 7th Super Bowl. Together. 7. That's nuts. That doesn't happen often. Ever. It's a record. It has never happened. Let me check that. It has never happened. So, I look for them to go in and do exactly what New England does. They don't have a lot of bad games, and they don't have a lot of bad games at all, and almost none in the postseason. They usually lose close games in the postseason if they lose. They do a good job of not making mistakes, limiting mistakes. So that's where it's kind of, some of the strengths that they have is because they limit the amount of mistakes that they make on the field. So, I don't. Let me turn that back down. Yeah. I don't think the line, by the way, there's a lot of talk on this line. I'm going to get into that here in a second. By the way, they opened up Patriots. Vegas has the Patriots at -3. So they're a 3-point favorite for those of you that aren't bettors. Aren't gamblers. Don't know about betting. Right now, the Patriots are 3-point favorites in the Super Bowl, which is not all that it's not crazy or unheard of. I think that's a fair. That's fair, but that's fair, but let's not discount what the Ravens did. So I'm not going to go over here and get super hyped up on Atlanta's stats. Again, one thing the Patriots do well, and this is one thing that they do well, and why they're able to be successful, continue to be successful when they play, because they usually take the one or two things that teams do well, they're best at, and they concentrate on taking those away. So this way you're working on your second, third, or fourth option on what you do to have to try to beat them. Usually when you beat them is that those two good things that you're at, they're just not able to stop it. And then you're able to outscore them or play good enough defense to where that usually less talented Patriots skilled players aren't able to come through. That's usually what it is. That's usually what it comes down to. And the top level defenses are the ones that end up beating the Patriots. So the top end defense. So if we're looking at just, again, it's going to be over analyze the heck out of, right? Here coming up over the next a little less than 2 weeks. Looking at, whose defense is what? Where are they at? We're gonna get a lot of that, but just to kind of humor team defense, real quick, just looking at the overall, just between these two teams, total defense wise. I mean, New England is 8th. Total defense. And Atlanta they have him ranked here. Where'd they go? 25th. 25th in total defense. That's not great. New England, against the pass, they have them ranked 12th. Atlanta, against the pass, is 28th. Almost last in the league against the pass. And if we go over here and we look at it against the run, hold on, that's not it. These are regular season stats. Just so you know. Can I combine it? No. Jerk face. Against the run. Here, give me the one. Pull me up the one against the run. Rushing defense. Which again, clearly we didn't see much out of. We don't see a ton out of the Patriots. The Patriots ranked third. They're tied for third with the Giants for rush defense. Atlanta is 17th. You know, averaging, what did I say? 15th? 17th. They've given up 15 touchdowns. It's a little under a touchdown a game to rushing. 18 games, 19. This will be their 20th game, so a little under one. It's like point something. It's less than one a game. But on average, they are giving up 104.5 yards a game. That's a lot of yards. And we know Blunt can run. If he's given the opportunity, he will. Pittsburgh had the 13th. I mean, they're not too far off. They were averaging 100 yards a game, and they had given up the same number of touchdowns. So if we're looking at run defense-wise, they're not that much better. And they held them to 57 yards rushing. So it's, again, some of that's play calling, some of that's, what is the game plan? What are they going to do? Tom Brady is where they're going to try to, where they're going to try to make their money. And against a team that is 28th. It's telling me your defensive line is not getting into the backfield enough to make a concerted effort. Your guys aren't getting there. I don't know where they're at as far as like individually, like tackles for loss. I'm pretty sure they're not up there on sacks. Let me see. Well, they are actually. That's crazy. So, Atlanta sack leader is 5. And that's the postseason. They've had 5 sacks this postseason, and in the regular season, versus the regular season, Atlanta. So yeah, see, their regular season stats are a bit different. They are postseason. They're playing better. So Atlanta, they had 34 sacks, 13th in the league. New England, during the season, less. Actually, less. So that's the thing. Teams play different in the postseason. So if we sit here, again, how many people got bored? By raise of hands. Talking about and looking at stats is boring. I try to stay away from them. This was an example here. Okay? If you just analyze stats and not looking at the play on the field, the 3-point margin is fair. I mean, Belichick, Brady, the Patriots been to 7 Super Bowls, and they've won a good amount of those. Let me see. Patriots have won. How many Super Bowls have they won? The Patriots have won 4 Super Bowls and 9 appearances. You know? This is 7. 7 of those are with... They've been 9 in their history. 7 of them are with Brady and Belichick. That's the craziest part of it. So, you know. So they've been there. They've done it more. You know, they have, I think, 21 guys on their roster that have played in the playoffs or the Super Bowl. Versus, I think, like 6 or 8 guys on the Falcons team that have been in the Super Bowl. You know, again, we've seen this kind of a similar situation with the Panthers last year. You know, younger, you know, a quarterback having a hot year, you know, some talent, some skilled talent just seems to be so good. To highlight it, a defense that seemed to be, you know, touted more than it showed up. And we saw the result of last year. I mean, everybody thought, you know, being Peyton Manning's last game, that it was written in stone. You know, he was over the hill. He wasn't going to get it. They won it. A lot of it had to do with the defense, but he went out on top. Broncos won. The next year, underperformed on offense and on defense. Kind of a mutual separation between coaching staff and front office, and that's gone. Now you got a different staff. A year removed from the Super Bowl. So, you know, just going to say, the Broncos missed the playoffs. The Panthers missed the playoffs. You know, the 2 teams that played in the Super Bowl didn't even make the playoffs. See, that's what the NFL wants. That's what leagues want. You want the top teams, 2 teams meeting in the Super Bowl, to be different. Okay? To be different each year. It helps. It helps. Parity helps. Helps sell tickets. Helps with the watchability of it. You know, we talk about the Steelers. You know, is Mike Tomlin a good coach? I mean, he's a good coach. He's not a great coach. Is he not able to do it with the talent he has? No, he hasn't. He hasn't been able to do it. And from the sound of, you know, Ben Roethlisberger's complaints, that it's kind of messy. It's kind of tacky. He's not keeping things under control there. He's being too much of a friend and not enough of a boss or a leader. He's mismanaging what they have. So that's kind of some of the complaints. You know, obviously some changes need to be made. Tomlin addressed that in a press conference afterwards, and kind of vaguely. More so addressing if Ben Roethlisberger was going to retire or not. Obviously, he's not going to tip his hat to just saying, you know, our plans don't change. And then he kind of backed it up as saying, you know, obviously he's the most important piece to the puzzle, blah, blah, blah. You know, how are you going to sit here and pretend like, you know, one of the top 5 guys in the league now and in the last decade at quarterback it's not changing your plans? That changes a lot for you. You think Landry Jones is your answer? No. Landry Jones is not your answer. He's a backup quarterback in the league. That's what he'll be. He is that. That's fine. I'm sure he's fine with that. He's getting paid. Maybe he wants to be more, but that's what he's proven to be right now. And I don't think he's the solution there to fill the shoes of Ben Roethlisberger. I got a few of you messaging in here. I'll get into some of those here in a little bit. By the way, if you want to see, I got a full article up on there, the site on the Giordano Ventura. He passed away in a car accident early Sunday morning. Andy Marte, who was another Major League Baseball player, bounced around the league a little bit. He actually retired. He was 33. He had finished the last couple years of his career in the Korean League. He died actually hours different in Dominican Republic too, of an unrelated traffic accident where he actually plowed into a house just off the highway and was killed. Now I do have, the thing is, like, the photos I end up getting were taken at the crash scene in the Dominican Republic, and there is one that I made the decision not to publish. Some have edited it a bit and published it, but the deceased is in the photo. So I have made the decision not to publish that photograph. But some have. I've chosen not to, out of respect for the deceased. But there is a photo up there of the vehicle from the road view where it was overturned. And I got a bit more information from it because I went over and I looked at, and, got my sources from the Dominican Republic in Spanish, not from English sources here. I didn't rely on Major League Baseball to give me that. I went to the Dominican Republic to get my information where it happened, in the language it happened in. So I got a bit more information than a lot of the sources here in the U.S. Right now, I can tell you, as of the investigation on Monday, where they were at Monday, yesterday, the last bit of information I got from it, they were unsure if Ventura was driving the vehicle or not. He did have a friend that was with him that also passed away, so it was unclear who was driving the vehicle. But they were both deceased. They were taken to the National Institute for Forensic Science for a final autopsy before the bodies were returned to the families. The funeral was actually going to be held in his hometown. You can get that and more information on it. And it was kind of nice to see some of the people paying tribute to him. I have that at the end of the article as well. So it's a longer article than I intended on writing, but there was so much that I felt that was kind of related. So instead of writing 2 or 3 articles, I could have really done 4 articles. It could have been 4 articles. It's not 4 articles long, but I could have made 4 articles out of this. But I put it in one. I just felt the overall landscape of the article was better as 1 than 4. Because it would have been a lot of redundancy in 4. So I just felt a little bit longer, but go over there, read it, kind of understand some of the impact of it. And by the way, I think Dominican Republic, from the statistics I looked at earlier today, it's like the second most dangerous country in the world to drive. And I've driven there, by the way. It might be that dangerous. I don't know if their drivers are worse than Puerto Rico, though. I lived in Puerto Rico for a year. By far the worst drivers I've ever ran into. And I've driven in Dominican Republic, for a whole weekend. So, again, it's not a year. It's a weekend. And I did go outside the tourist area. So, it was a risk, I guess. In Venezuela, I've driven several times in Venezuela, in Mexico. I've driven in LA. So I've driven all kind of Dallas, Atlanta, crappy traffic places. I've never been to the Northeast, so I don't know what New York traffic's like. I know cab drivers in Chicago are crazy. I've driven there, not New York yet. Not New York, Philly, New Jersey, something like that. I haven't been there yet. I'm working on that. No, I'm not. I can get into the draft. I mean, I can. It's just so early. I have some articles I'm working on. I mean, if you can see here on the YouTube, I got a few guys that I've highlighted, and I want to do a top 10 from each team that I've been working on. Just some guys I got to go back over and look at film on. I could tell you, just kind of answer the questions. I mean, there's who was their standouts? One of the guys that stood out to me all week in practice and then again in the game, is a kid by the name of Corell Hamilton. He played for Samford. Nice, soft hands, decent speed, ran routes well. Was able to go up and challenge for the ball. 6'1", 202. He was able to track the ball well. I liked him. Good kid. Small school guy. That game helped his draft stock, without a doubt. Another couple guys I think end up helping the draft stock out was on the East team. Two kind of more pass rusher type defensive ends. One was Trey Hendrickson out of Florida Atlantic. By the way, for you scouts and coaches out there, Lane Kiffin has not set up pro days for those guys yet. He is in the dark as of this past week of what they're doing for that. Nothing. So we'll see. We'll see what happens at Florida Atlantic. We're all patiently watching. Another guy again. Carter Schultz out of Northern Iowa. Again, 6'3", 270, didn't have the same twitchiness, speed off the ball as Hendrickson does. He was actually like, I think he was a 3 technique. He was an inside guy. He was a defensive tackle. They moved him outside, and now he holds like their sack record. He's one of the few guys in like small school guys to win, a major award. So he's one of those guys, I was talking with scouts, they really didn't know who he was, hadn't seen a lot on him. I felt that was kind of consistent with some of these guys. That's why we're seeing a lot of the scouts and teams show up to discover these guys for the first time. I don't know how much film, how many games, where they're, if you have talent, they'll find you, yes. If you're talented, an agent will find you, yes. Listen here. Guys out there in college, free agents, high school, I don't care. If you're an athlete and you want to be in the professional ranks, you need tape of game situations, playing against the best. So if you have opportunities and you're at a small school, you need to try to play your best games against the best competition. Okay? You get film of it. Actual video of you doing it. That's what's important. They want to see that thing. And it's not enough just to put it on Huddle, on YouTube, on Facebook. You need to find a way to creatively get it in the hands of head coaches, offensive coordinators, other coaches. Find out what their email address is. Find out what their Twitter handle is. Find out what their Facebook account. DM them. Tweet them. You know, you can get these things. Hold on just a second. This thing here. See this? Those of you on YouTube Live can see this. Thumb drive. This one is a rather large one. I think it's 64 gigabytes. 64 gigabytes. I think I paid $10 for this. You can buy really cheap ones. I was just looking today, actually. You can buy them for $1 something a piece. Get 100 of them. You know? And what you do, again, this is free marketing advice right here on the show. You get these, and you stick them in your computer, and you upload your resume, your scouting report. Try to find independent scouting reports. If you have scouts on your college, high school team, if you're you have a friend or a family member, if you find somebody that online or somebody to give you a scouting report, go to these sites, pay for, these sites, I'm not going to name some sites, but you can Google sites, scouting reports. You can get scouting reports on people. Yeah, get them on yourself. Get those independent scouting reports. Use those as a measure of what to work on, because that's what that person's opinion is. I know too often, I'll get guys that, I get a lot of stuff sent to me. I'm not a scout. I'm not a front office guy. I have a passion for sports. I've helped with scouting before. I'm not a scout right now. That's not my profession. Media guy. I'm a media guy. I talk to agents, I talk to scouts, I talk to front office people, I talk to players, I talk to everybody. But you can too. So what I do, who I know, isn't any different. Go to LinkedIn. Find them on there. Find them on Instagram. If you know where the people are, make it easy to get this to. For example, I had a guy, he is a free agent, right? Went to a smaller school, right? Went to a smaller school in Texas. And I said, okay, do you know when these big schools' pro days are? Go to the schools, go to a pro day at a school that there's going to be a lot of scouts at. Just go to it. If it's not much of a drive for you, go to it. Take 40 of these, okay? Take 40 of them. Give one to each team, the biggest, baddest person you can find on each team. Put it in an envelope. Again, make this stuff easy for them. It's not expensive to print out stuff. It's really not. You can buy the cheapest printer out there for $30-some. The thing is, the most expensive thing with a printer is the toners, the cartridges, the ink. That's the most expensive stuff. So if you get the cheapest thing out there, you can find donated ones, free printers. Nobody can sell those things on Craigslist or Facebook or Let Go or anything. You can't sell printers. Nobody wants to buy a printer. Just go buy a new one. It has more features, and the ink comes with it. But you find the cheapest one that works, and just buy cartridges for it. Just print stuff off, You're probably looking at $40, $60, $70 in inks and toners, but you'll print off everything you need to print, right? And just print off your stuff, your scouting reports, your testing results, video of you doing the 40 and doing the bench press. The things that you would see at the combine, the things that you would see at a pro day, or the things that you would do in a workout. It's not, I mean, for example, Leigh Steinberg. He was on tonight. He's a big deal. He's up there. You know? We've talked about his resume. It speaks for itself. But he came on the show because we asked. It's not ESPN. It's not Fox. We're not NBC, CBS. We're none of that. But he came on the show. I've had Ted Sundquist on the show 3 times, I believe. 3. You know? I've had Rulon Gardner. Probably owns one of the top 5 most memorable moments in Olympic history in wrestling. You know? I had him on the night that the International Olympic Committee made a decision to take wrestling out of the Olympics. I had him on that night. It was a Tuesday morning. They made the decision. He was on that night on this show. Why'd he come on? Because I asked. This is the thing. Because you see somebody getting something or having success at something, don't be afraid to get that same success. Don't be afraid to get those same people. Ask. Just ask. You know? Steinberg was supposed to come on last week. He had to reschedule. We're good. He was on tonight. He would have rescheduled tonight, we would have done it again. You know? I've had guys no-show me. Is it frustrating? Yeah, you know, in some sense, you know, it's kind of embarrassing to say, hey, listen, I'm marketing, this guy's coming, and he just doesn't show. But I have a show to do, whether he comes or doesn't. I'm not going to have a crap show because somebody had something better to do or forgot about it, you know? So, that's the thing. Just ask. So, I had this kid. He's a free agent. And I said, hey, listen, just go to an area combine. You know the scouts are there. Take 40 of these. Put them in an envelope. Make it simple. Hand it out. All the scouts and stuff will wear the team logos. They have, the scouts and coaches and guys that they have there. The team logo is apparent. By the way, shout out to the Redskins, man. Adidas did a great job with the Redskins. I can't say it enough for their, again, obviously, Nike is the game day uniforms and stuff, but Adidas did a really good job with the Redskins. I just noticed this weekend, like, every time I kept seeing, like, nice polos or, stuff like that, like the dry fit stuff they were wearing, the shirts they were wearing. It just had different logos, different colors, different looks. They really mixed it up and gave them a lot of variety, I just, hats off to that. And hats off to Adidas for hooking the Redskins up. I think they did a great job. That's nice. Businesses, you should appreciate that with employees, have several, if you do uniforms, do some different colors, kind of mix it up a little bit. Not so mundane. It makes it fun. It makes you not feel like every day is the same. But again, back to what I said, just hand them out. Hand out your resume, your film that you have. Put it on one of these. It's $1 or $2. And just give it. You can get this cheapest one. As long as it saves, you're fine. And just hand them out. Put it in a little envelope and give it to them, Make it something easy for them to not lose. Right? And give it to them. You're not gonna be able to get in that combine, but hey, listen, I'm a free agent. This is what I've done. I've been here. I played in this arena league. I played in Canada. I played in China. China has indoor football, by the way, indoor American football. They have American football leagues, indoor there in China. The NFL, that's why the NFL is interested in playing a game in China. We will see that here before too long. Mexico City is, again, that's on, I think it was on a central time zone. So it's within the same time zone. If they did China, it would be essentially played on a Monday in China, Sunday here. So our Monday night football is Tuesday night football for China. It's a day difference. But yeah, one of the guys I talked to send me over stuff. He played in an indoor league in China. So, if you have the talent and you want to play, keep pushing, but you got to get yourself out there. Don't just think because you're playing in a league somewhere that a scout will find you. Literally until he sent me that, he's like, "Hey, I just got back playing from China. Here's some of my game tape. Want to give me some feedback?" I was like, I didn't say it to him, but I was like, "They play indoor football in China?" Yeah, they do. So guys, just be out there. You got to be proactive about it. The services, there are services out there that help you. They're connected with scouts and coaches and stuff like that. They are. And agents will help you if you have an agent. A lot of the guys I talk to either don't have an agent or have a bad agent. I'm not big on really referring people to agents. People ask me. There's good guys. The two NFL guys I've had on this show, Gary Glick and Leigh Steinberg, they're good guys. They're good people, It's apparent in what they do and the work that they put out there. It's not a surprise to anybody, really. All right. We're wrap up the show here for tonight. So I appreciate you, everybody listening in or watching in from wherever you were tonight. For you on Spreaker, if you're on Spreaker and YouTube, you didn't get the Steinberg interview, but you will be able to go over to the website, go over to thechtonsports.com. There is a featured article up on the show page for tonight's show. And you can listen to the show in its entirety over on the page. Complete. Again, the beginning of the show was the Steinberg interview. So that's all I have for tonight. I'm Matthew Long here on the Cold Hard Truth on Sports on the Go Long Media channel on blogtalkradio.com. I'm out.